The battlefield was silent in a strange and heavy way, as if the air itself was scared to move. Smoke floated between broken machines and burned metal. The ground was dark with ash, and every step made a soft crunch that echoed far more than it should. The war had ended only hours ago, but the land still looked alive with danger. No birds, no voices, no wind, only silence and the memory of destruction. A human medic named Rylan walked slowly through the ruins. He was young, but already carried the tired look of someone who had seen too many battles. His uniform was torn at the arms, and his hands were wrapped in old bandages that showed dried blood. He kept scanning the area for survivors, though he knew it was unlikely. The enemy had been ruthless, and the machines they used left almost nothing behind. Rylan breathed out slowly, his breath mixing with the cold air. He had been moving for hours with no rest, no food, and almost no hope. But he kept going. It was the job. It was what humans did. Even when the mission felt impossible, a human still tried. He moved around the burning wreck of a transport craft, stepping over loose wires and cracked armor plates. Something about the area felt strange, as if he was not alone. He paused and listened carefully, focusing on the shapes in the distance. Shadows moved inside the smoke, but he could not tell if they were alive or just drifting pieces of metal. Then he heard it. A small sound, weak, soft, almost like crying. He froze. Rylan knew that sound was not human. It was too high, too fragile. It reminded him of a hurt animal, something small and scared. He turned slowly, searching for the source, and then he saw the movement near a fallen war machine. A small creature dragged itself out from under a broken metal panel. It was shaped like a young beast, with soft fur and glowing blue markings on its body. Its eyes were bright but full of pain. It tried to stand but collapsed again, letting out a quiet, broken cry. Rylan's heart jumped. He knew what it was immediately. A war beast cub. The war beasts were one of the most feared species in the galaxy. They were huge, powerful, and known for destroying entire battalions with their claws and armored skin. Their roar alone could make soldiers run. Every soldier was trained to avoid them at all costs. But this was only a cub, small, weak, and dying. Rylan looked around. If a cub was here, then the parent could not be far, and a full-grown war beast would tear apart anything near its wounded child. Human or alien, it didn't matter. Rylan took a slow breath. His instincts told him to leave, to back away quietly, to get out before the mother returned. But the cub cried again. That tiny sound hit something deep inside him. It reminded him of a moment from long ago when he watched a small, stray animal dying near his childhood home. He had been a child then, but he had tried to save it even though everyone told him it was pointless. That memory pushed forward now, stronger than fear. He stepped closer to the cub. As he approached, he saw the creature's side was bleeding. A piece of metal had cut deep into its ribs. Its breathing was fast and irregular. Without help, it would die soon. Rylan knelt beside it and spoke softly, even though he knew the cub could not understand his words. "It's okay, I'm here. Don't move too much. I'll help you." The cub watched him with wide, glowing eyes, filled with fear but also a faint sense of trust. Perhaps it sensed he meant no harm. Perhaps it was too weak to resist. Either way, it stayed still. Rylan reached into his medical kit, his hands shaking from exhaustion. He had treated humans, aliens, soldiers, civilians, but never a war beast. He knew almost nothing about their biology. Their anatomy was a mystery, and their species usually killed anyone who tried to study them. But he had no choice. If he did nothing, the cub would die. He cleaned the wound gently. The cub whimpered in pain but did not pull away. Rylan whispered calming words as he worked. The glowing blue blood surprised him, and the strange patterns in its fur pulsed in slow waves. The creature's body seemed to react differently to pressure and temperature. Every movement was a careful guess. Rylan worked faster, trying to slow the bleeding. His medical kit was almost empty, but he used everything left: sealers, pain patches, and stabilizing injections. His hands moved with precision even though they trembled with fatigue. Then the ground vibrated. A low rumbling sound traveled through the metal around them. Rylan stiffened. That vibration, he knew what it meant. A war beast was approaching. A full-grown one. The rumble grew louder and deeper, like distant thunder getting closer. The smoke ahead shifted as something massive pushed through it. Rylan wanted to run. Every instinct screamed at him, but he couldn't leave the cub. Not when he had already started the treatment. Not when the little creature was still alive because of him. He stayed exactly where he was, heart pounding hard. The shadow grew larger. A shape formed in the fog. Huge, armored, terrifying. The adult war beast stepped forward, its eyes burning with orange light, its claws shining in the dim air. It was easily the size of a transport vehicle. Its chest rose with heavy breaths as it scanned the area. Its gaze fell on the cub, then on Rylan. The medic froze, unable to move. The war beast let out a low, dangerous growl that made the ground tremble. But as it moved closer, it stopped suddenly. It sniffed the air. It saw the bleeding cub wrapped in medical patches. It saw the human's shaking hand still holding the cub gently. The war beast's growl changed. The anger in its eyes shifted to something else: confusion, fear, desperation. Rylan swallowed hard, trying to speak. "I'm helping, I'm trying to save it. Please don't stop me." The war beast lowered its head slightly, its huge eyes locked on him. And for the first time in Rylan's life, he saw something he never expected in a creature built for war: hope. The war beast stood completely still as it watched the human medic crouched beside its injured cub. The battlefield around them was quiet, yet the air felt heavy with tension. Rylan could feel the beast's hot breath move the strands of dust on the ground. Its giant claws were inches from his legs. One wrong move, one mistake, and he would be gone in a heartbeat. But Rylan didn't move away. His hands stayed on the cub, pressing gently around the wound to stop the bleeding. He kept his voice soft even though fear made his throat dry. "Easy, I'm not your enemy, I'm here to help." The war beast lowered its head until its massive face was close to Rylan. Its glowing eyes studied him with deep focus. The creature's breath was loud and uneven, and its body carried fresh injuries, burns along its back, cuts across its shoulders. It had fought hard before arriving here. Rylan understood something important in that moment. This parent wasn't threatening him because it wanted to kill him. It was threatening him because it was scared. It feared losing its child. And even a creature built for war felt that pain. The cub made a small trembling sound and tried to move. Rylan lightly touched its side to calm it. "Stay still, little one, let me finish." He opened the last of his medical foam and sprayed it over the wound. The foam reacted with the cub's glowing blue blood and formed a flexible seal. It wasn't perfect, but it would keep the cub alive for a little longer. The cub's breathing slowed, becoming steadier than before. Its eyes fluttered weakly. Rylan checked the pulse as best as he could. "It's stabilizing," he whispered, partly to the cub and partly to the huge creature watching him. The war beast made a low rumble, not threatening this time, but almost like a question. It tilted its head, inspecting the bandages, the patches, the tools scattered around them. It understood something had changed. Rylan had helped. Slowly, the war beast stepped closer and lowered its massive body to the ground. Its front claws folded inward, making space for Rylan and the cub. It didn't roar, didn't bare its teeth. It simply settled down, watching him with a strange mixture of fear and trust. Rylan felt a little less terrified. He spoke softly. "You want me to continue? Then stay calm. Loud sounds will scare the cub." The war beast remained still. Rylan finally allowed himself to breathe again, but the relief didn't last long. The ground shook, not from the war beast this time. Instead, a deep mechanical vibration echoed from the distance. Rylan looked up quickly. Lights appeared through the smoke, cold, sharp lights, arranged in lines like the eyes of machines. Rylan's heart sank. No, not now. Several combat drones floated into view, followed by heavy walker robots. Their armor glowed with orange power lines. These machines were programmed to destroy anything alive on the battlefield. They didn't care if it was human or alien. They only saw targets. Rylan grabbed his scanner and cursed softly. "They're sweeping for survivors, they'll kill us all." The war beast tensed immediately. Its muscles tightened and its claws dug into the dirt. A fierce growl vibrated through its chest. The cub responded with a weak cry. Rylan held up both hands toward the giant parent. "Stop! Listen, you're too injured to fight them. And the cub won't survive if you move too fast. If we run, they'll target us." The war beast looked at him sharply, unable to understand all the words but sensing the urgency. It growled again, ready to attack. "No," Rylan said firmly. "Let me think." He looked around, searching the broken wreckage for anything useful. His eyes landed on a collapsed transport pod. The interior was dark but looked structurally strong. It could protect them, at least for a while. Rylan pointed toward it. "There, we take cover, stay low and follow me." The war beast hesitated. Its instinct was clearly to fight, but then it looked at its cub. Its eyes softened and the parent gave a slow nod. That was all Rylan needed. He carefully lifted the cub in his arms. It was warm and surprisingly light for its size, but fragile like glass. The cub's glowing eyes opened halfway and then closed again. The war beast followed closely, moving with surprising care to avoid knocking Rylan off balance. Every step shook the ground, but the creature tried to keep its weight steady. Rylan rushed to the transport pod and squeezed inside. The floor was tilted, and half the ceiling had collapsed, but the walls were thick enough to hide heat signatures for a short time. "Come in," he whispered urgently. The war beast crouched low and forced its massive body through the opening. Metal screeched, but the beast managed to fit inside. It curled its body around both Rylan and the cub, creating a living shield, just in time. The drones entered the area. Through a crack in the broken metal, Rylan saw their orange lights scanning the ground. The machines moved in slow, calculated waves. One drone hovered close to the transport pod. Rylan didn't dare breathe. The war beast didn't move an inch, but its entire body vibrated with tension. The drone paused, shining a beam across the wreck. The light slid over the metal panel, hiding them. It hummed softly, processing data. Rylan held the cub tighter and whispered inside his mind, "Please, don't detect us." The drone's beam flickered, then it turned away. Rylan let out the breath he had held for far too long. The war beast did the same, though its version was a deep, rumbling exhale. Minutes passed slowly. The machines finally moved to the far side of the battlefield, disappearing into the smoke. Rylan wiped sweat from his forehead. "We're safe for now." The war beast lifted its head and looked down at Rylan. There was no hatred in its eyes anymore, only gratitude, confusion, and something that looked almost like respect. Rylan looked at the wounded cub in his arms. "It still needs proper help. I can only do so much out here." He looked back at the war beast. "We need to get your cub somewhere safe, somewhere with real medical tools. But for that, you'll have to trust me." The war beast blinked slowly. Trust was a powerful thing, and right now it had no one else in the world who could save its child. The transport pod felt colder as the long minutes passed, and the silence around them made every sound seem louder. Rylan kept holding the cub against his chest, making sure its breathing stayed steady. The soft blue glow from the cub's markings lit the inside of the damaged pod with a gentle light. It looked peaceful, almost sleeping, but Rylan knew how close it still was to death. The war beast watched them closely, lying awkwardly in the cramped space. Its massive body was squeezed between broken metal walls, yet it stayed still so it wouldn't disturb the medic's work. Every time the cub fluttered or whimpered, the parent gave a low, worried rumble. Rylan could feel the tension inside the creature, a powerful fear mixed with the instinct to protect. Rylan checked the cub's temperature with the back of his hand. "Still warm," he whispered. "That's good, but the wound needs proper treatment soon." The war beast responded with a soft growl, not threatening but worried. It pressed its nose close to the cub and sniffed carefully, as if checking for any change. Then it lifted its head and looked at Rylan with an expression he never imagined such a creature could show, an expression almost asking for guidance. Rylan sighed. "I know, I understand. You want me to fix your cub completely. But we can't do that out here. The machines are still moving. We need to move too." He peeked through the crack in the broken wall. The battlefield was calmer now, though smoke still floated across the ground. The drones were farther away but still visible as faint moving lights. If they came back, hiding again would not be as easy. Rylan looked at the war beast. "Listen, I think I know a place, a safe place." The war beast tilted its head, confused. "I came here with a unit," Rylan explained softly. "Humans, we had a mobile medical shelter in the hills. It's hidden underground. If we reach it, I can use real tools to save your cub." "But it's a long walk." The war beast shifted slightly. It understood the idea of travel, but it also knew danger waited outside. Rylan continued, "I can't carry the cub alone while watching for enemies, and you're injured too. But if we move slowly, together, we can make it." He looked straight into the creature's glowing eyes. "You have to trust me." The war beast made a deep sound. Not a growl, not anger, something softer, a sound of acceptance. Rylan smiled weakly. "Good, then let's get out of here." He gently wrapped the cub in a thermal cloth from his medical kit. The cub stirred but didn't fight the movement. Its breathing grew faint again, and Rylan felt a stab of fear. He whispered, "Stay with me, just a little longer." The war beast lowered its body so Rylan could step out first. The medic slid through the cracked opening carefully, scanning the area. The sky above was dim and filled with ash clouds. Pieces of broken ships still burned with orange sparks. He checked for movement. The machines were far now, moving toward the western ruins. It was the perfect chance to escape. Rylan waved to the war beast. Come on, slowly. The huge creature pushed itself through the opening, the metal scraping loudly. Rylan froze, watching the battlefield for drones, but nothing approached. The war beast stepped out, stretching its large legs, wincing slightly at its own injuries. Rylan pointed to the east. We need to go that way, keep low, stay close. The war beast bent down beside him, allowing Rylan to climb onto its front limb for support as he held the cub. Then they began moving through the ruins. The ground shook slightly with each step of the war beast. Rylan stayed near its side, using its body like a shield. They passed burned vehicles, broken armor plates, twisted metal, and shattered helmets. Everything around them showed the violence of the earlier battle. But in the middle of all that destruction, Rylan found something odd, fresh tracks in the dirt. Not from robots, not from humans. Rylan knelt, touching the ground. These are from another war beast. He looked up sharply. Your mate. The war beast froze, its ears lifted, listening. Its eyes widened with sudden alertness. Then it growled softly, a sound of recognition and worry. Rylan understood. Your partner was here, maybe looking for you or the cub. This changed things. If the mate was still alive, then it might return. Two massive war beasts together would draw attention from the machines and make travel even more dangerous. Rylan looked around quickly. We need to move before it comes back. If your mate sees me holding the cub, I don't know how it will react. The war beast lowered its head, troubled but understanding. They continued moving, weaving through broken structures. Every few minutes, Rylan checked the cub's breathing. It grew weaker, its glow dimmer. Rylan felt panic tightening his chest. No, he whispered, don't fade now. Stay with us. The war beast picked up its pace, sensing the cub's struggle. Its large body pushed through fallen debris and cleared a path. Rylan stayed close, stumbling at times but never letting go of the small creature in his arms. Hours passed like slow-burning fire. The sky grew darker and the battlefield transformed from gray to deep blue under the night. Finally, they reached the base of the hills. Rylan took a deep breath. We're close. The war beast looked exhausted, its legs trembling slightly. Its own injuries were bleeding again. But it didn't stop. It stayed focused on its child. Rylan stepped toward a patch of broken rocks. He tapped a specific stone 3 times. A faint metallic sound echoed beneath it. A platform shifted and a hidden panel slid open, revealing a small steel hatch. There, he whispered. The shelter. The war beast leaned forward, sniffing the opening. It was small, almost too small for a creature of its size. Rylan bit his lip. You won't fit, but the cub and I can, and if I save it, I promise I'll bring it out to you. The war beast growled quietly, an uneasy sound. Rylan met its eyes. Trust me again, just one more time. The war beast hesitated, breathing hard. Then it lowered its head slowly, letting Rylan pass. Rylan stepped into the hatch, gripping the cub tightly. And the war beast stayed outside, watching him disappear below the ground, placing all its hope in a single human. The metal ladder inside the shelter felt cold as Rylan climbed down with the cub cradled against his chest. The air below was still and dusty, and the faint hum of old machines filled the underground chamber. When his boots touched the floor, dim lights flickered to life, revealing a small medical station filled with scattered supplies, overturned chairs, and a cracked main console. It had clearly been abandoned in a hurry. Rylan looked around quickly. Still working, thank goodness, he whispered. He hurried to the main medical pod, brushing off dust with his sleeve. The cub stirred weakly in his arms, letting out a faint cry. Its glow faded in soft pulses, each one weaker than the last. You're not dying on me, Rylan said softly. Not after everything we've survived. He opened the pod and laid the cub inside carefully. The creature's small body trembled, its breath unsteady. The pod lights flickered, scanning its biology and displaying unreadable alien symbols. The system wasn't made for non-human patients, but Rylan wasn't going to let that stop him. He grabbed manual tools from the shelves, glow scalpels, sealant sprays, tissue stabilizers. He washed his hands quickly and took a deep breath. You can do this, he whispered to himself. Outside, the war beast waited above ground, unable to see what was happening. Rylan imagined the creature pacing restlessly, watching for enemies, listening for threats, and trusting a human with the life of its child. That trust weighed heavily on him. It pushed him harder. Rylan leaned over the cub as he adjusted the pod's settings manually. The cub's glowing patterns were dim. Rylan placed his hand on its head. Stay with me, your parent is waiting. He began the procedure. He cut away the emergency foam he had applied earlier. Fresh blue blood flowed, glowing brighter for a moment before fading again. Rylan worked quickly, clamping the bleeding vessels, stabilizing the damaged skin, and scanning the organ beneath the wound. The cub's biology was unlike anything he had seen. The organ seemed to shift slightly under the scanner, moving with the glowing patterns on its skin. It was almost alive in its own way. Minutes passed, then an hour. Rylan's hands were shaking from exhaustion, but he didn't stop. He cleaned the wound, sealed deep tissue layers, and applied a stabilizing gel that could adapt to alien physiology. The cub let out a sharp cry of pain. I know, I'm sorry," Rylan whispered, his voice cracking. "Just a little more." He injected a small dose of a universal sedative. The cub's breathing slowed into a gentler rhythm. Its glowing markings brightened slightly, giving Rylan a spark of hope. But then the room shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. A faint roar echoed from above, a loud, furious one. Rylan froze. That's the war beast. He lifted the cub gently and ran to the ladder. Peeking upward, he could hear something stomping on the ground, heavy, angry, roaring again and again. "Something spooked it," Rylan whispered. "Or someone." He placed the cub back in the pod and rushed to the shelter's old surveillance monitor. The screen flickered with static, then showed blurry images of the surface. A second war beast had arrived. Huge, scarred, breathing hard, clearly the mate. It roared at the first war beast, not a threat, desperation. It was searching for the cub. The two massive creatures exchanged heavy growls, pacing the entrance above the hidden shelter. Rylan felt fear twist inside his stomach. If they fight, the ground will collapse. Then something else appeared on the screen. A large drone walker marched into the area, its metal legs shaking the ground. Red scanning lines swept across the dirt. More machines followed behind it, flying drones, armored units, all moving in coordinated patterns. "No," Rylan whispered. "They tracked us." One walker pointed its sensor toward the war beasts. Rylan slammed his hand on the desk. "They'll attack them." He ran back to the cub. "Stay alive," he whispered. "I'll come back." He climbed the ladder and pushed the hatch open slowly. The moment he stepped outside, the sound hit him. Metal moving, beasts roaring, machines charging weapons. Smoke drifted across the battlefield again, and orange lights flashed. The first war beast noticed Rylan immediately and growled, not at him, but alerting him to danger. Rylan ducked as a drone beam shot past his head, leaving a scorching mark on the hillside. The second war beast roared loudly and charged toward the machines. Its huge body slammed into the nearest drone walker, crushing it into the dirt. Metal pieces flew everywhere, sparks lit the air, but more machines closed in. Rylan shouted, "Stop, don't fight them alone." The first war beast moved in front of Rylan, shielding him from a blast. It growled fiercely, protecting him just as he had protected the cub. The second war beast joined the defense, standing between Rylan and the incoming robots. A flying drone targeted the hatch behind Rylan. If it destroyed that entrance, the cub inside would be trapped and crushed. Rylan grabbed a fallen rifle from the ground. He wasn't a soldier, but he knew how to fire. He aimed at the drone's sensor and pulled the trigger. The shot hit, sending the drone crashing down in a burst of sparks. Both war beasts looked at him with surprise. Rylan shouted, "I saved your child. I'm not letting anything take it now." The machines advanced again. One walker aimed a heavy cannon directly at the first war beast. Rylan's heart jumped into his throat. No. The cannon fired. A streak of orange ripped through the smoky air. The war beast leaped in front of the shot. The explosion threw dirt, rocks, and fire everywhere. Rylan fell back, his ears ringing. The war beast crashed to the ground, its body shaking from the blast. The second war beast roared in pure agony and fury. Rylan crawled toward the injured parent. "No, get up, please." Its glowing eyes flickered. It tried to stand but collapsed again. Machines locked onto it, preparing another shot. Rylan grabbed its massive claw and squeezed gently. "I won't let your cub lose you too." He stood up, breathing hard, staring at the advancing machines. His whole body trembled, but his voice was steady. "Come on," he whispered. "If you want the beasts, you'll have to go through me." He raised the rifle again. The machines aimed back. The war beast beside him growled in pain, and the sky darkened as the metal wings cut through the smoke-filled air. Their shadows passed over the ground like fast-moving storms. Rylan's eyes widened when he recognized the shape of the aircraft, human rescue flyers, armed with defensive cannons and bright search beams. They roared above the battlefield, scanning for survivors, unaware of the chaos unfolding below. The machines on the ground reacted immediately. Several drones turned their sensors upward, preparing to fire at the flyers. The war beast lying beside Rylan growled in warning, struggling to push itself up even though its body trembled from pain. "Stay down," Rylan whispered. "Let me handle it." The second war beast moved in front of Rylan, planting its huge legs firmly into the dirt. Its eyes burned with rage and fear, but its body formed a powerful shield. The creature was determined to protect Rylan just as he had protected its cub. Above them, the first flyer circled lower. Through the cockpit window, Rylan saw the pilot staring down at him in confusion. A human medic standing beside two massive alien beasts was not something anyone expected. Rylan raised his free hand and waved frantically. "Don't shoot, friendly." But the machines acted first. Two drones fired beams into the sky. The shots flew dangerously close to the flyers, forcing them to veer away. One flyer returned fire, blasting a drone into pieces that fell like burning shards around Rylan and the beasts. The machines on the ground changed targets instantly. Their sensors locked onto the flyers, and heavy walkers powered up their cannons. It was about to turn into a slaughter, humans and beasts alike. Rylan shouted toward the sky, "We need help down here." But his voice was lost in the thunder of engines. A second drone walker marched forward, aiming its weapon at the injured war beast again. Rylan's chest filled with panic. "No, not again, please, no." The second war beast launched itself at the walker with a roar that shook the air. Its huge claws slashed through the machine's armor, sending sparks flying. The walker staggered back, firing randomly, but the beast dodged and struck again, tearing through cables and circuits. The machine collapsed in a storm of metal parts, but more machines approached. Too many. Rylan held the rifle tight, breathing fast. He wasn't a soldier. He wasn't trained for this. But he refused to let the beasts die after all the trust they had given him. Suddenly, a voice crackled through a speaker overhead. "This is Search Team Alpha. Ground Medic, identify yourself." Rylan looked up, shouting, "Medic Rylan, there are two allied creatures. They're protecting me and their injured cub. Don't fire on them." The flyers hovered lower, their lights sweeping the area again. The pilot's voice returned, tense. "Beasts at your location are considered hostile. You must move away." Rylan shouted back angrily, "No, if I move away, they die." "And the cub dies too." A heavy pause followed. Then the pilot responded, "You have 10 seconds to clear the area. We cannot target machines without risking you." Rylan clenched his jaw. "Then don't target from above. Give me backup on the ground." Another painful silence. The flyers circled again, their engines roaring. Rylan looked at the injured war beast. Its breaths were shallow, its body shaking. He touched its massive head gently. "Hold on, I'll get us out of this." The war beast's glowing eyes focused weakly on him. It understood he was trying to help. The second war beast returned, panting heavily, covered in cuts and burns from destroying the walker. It stood beside the injured parent, protecting it with its whole body. Rylan looked around. Machines were advancing from all directions. They had no path left. Unless... Rylan looked at the hillside behind the shelter. There was a narrow tunnel, half buried under fallen rocks. It wasn't part of the shelter. It was a natural cave formation he remembered from the map when his unit first arrived. A tight space where machines struggled to move, but where beasts could fit if they crawled. Rylan pointed toward it. "There, we can hide in the cave." The second war beast turned its head, following his hand. Its eyes narrowed. It understood the idea. Rylan moved to the injured parent and tugged its claw gently. "Come on, you can move, just a little." The war beast groaned in pain, but pushed itself up slowly. Each movement was heavy and shaky, but it stood. Rylan supported it as best as he could, guiding it toward the cave entrance. The second war beast walked beside them, growling loudly at any machine that came close. It attacked two drones that flew too near, smashing them with swift, violent strikes. Rylan ran ahead and reached the cave. It was small, dark, and tight, but deep enough to hide all of them if they squeezed inside. "Hurry!" he shouted. The injured war beast crawled in first, dragging its heavy body. The second beast followed, backing in slowly so it could keep watching the battlefield. Rylan climbed inside last and pulled loose rocks over the entrance, leaving only a thin gap for air and light. Machines outside scanned the area, their steps shaking the cave walls. The second war beast growled softly, warning Rylan to stay still. The drones began sweeping the exact area where they had stood moments ago. A walker stopped right outside the cave, its heavy feet sinking into the dirt. The ground trembled as the machine scanned the hillside. Rylan held his breath. He could hear the whir of sensors inches from his head. The machine paused, then slowly turned away. Minutes passed like hours. Finally, the machines marched away, chasing the flyers that had pulled the battle skyward. The cave fell silent. Rylan leaned back, trembling from adrenaline and exhaustion. The injured war beast lay beside him, breathing weakly. The second war beast gently nudged its partner, trying to keep it awake. Rylan whispered, "The cub, I have to go back for the cub." The beasts looked at him sharply. Their eyes glowed with worry and trust. Rylan swallowed hard. "It will die without me. I need to return to the shelter." The second war beast lowered its head and growled softly, not a warning but a question. Rylan touched its massive snout. "I'll come back, I promise." He turned toward the small opening he had made, and crawled back out into the night. Rylan pushed the loose rocks aside and slipped out of the cave, feeling the cold night air against his face. The battlefield was quiet again, but he knew the silence could break at any moment. Smoke drifted slowly over the hills, glowing faintly from distant fires. The machines had moved toward the sky battle, but they would return soon. Rylan didn't have much time. He ran toward the hidden shelter entrance, stumbling over broken metal and burned ground. His legs felt weak from exhaustion, but his heart pushed him forward. The cub's life depended on him. Every second mattered. He reached the hatch and pulled it open. The air inside was warmer, and he hurried down the ladder. The lights flickered again as he entered the small medical room. The cub lay inside the pod, glowing faintly, its breathing slow and fragile. Rylan rushed to its side. "I'm back, I'm here." The cub's eyes opened halfway. It made a soft sound, barely audible. Its glow was faint, but still there, still alive. Rylan checked its vitals. The bleeding had stopped and the organ damage was stabilizing, but the small creature was dangerously weak. It needed more than bandages and gel. It needed energy. Its species was known for glowing patterns. That glow wasn't just decoration, it was part of its life force. Rylan tapped an old power console beside the pod. "Come on, work for me." The console blinked, sputtered, then the emergency battery indicator lit up. It had enough charge left for a short burst of energy. Rylan connected the power lines to the pod. "Please be compatible just for now." He activated a low-energy infusion cycle. The pod hummed. Soft pulses of warm light traveled over the cub's body. Its glowing patterns flickered, then brightened slightly. Rylan smiled. "Yes, good, keep going." He stayed beside the cub, watching every reaction. Minutes passed slowly. Each pulse brought a little more color back to its markings. The cub breathed deeper, stronger. For the first time since he found it, the little creature didn't look like it was slipping away. Rylan whispered, "You're going to survive. Your parents are waiting for you." He gently touched the cub's head. The creature nuzzled weakly against his hand. But then the shelter shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. Loud mechanical footsteps echoed from above. Rylan froze. "They're back." The machines had returned sooner than expected. Rylan looked at the cub, then at the ladder. The war beasts were still hiding in the cave. If the machines found them, they'd be destroyed instantly. And the cub of the machines would certainly kill it if they discovered the shelter. "No," Rylan whispered. "Not again, not this time." He lifted the cub carefully from the pod. Its glowing markings were brighter now, its body warmer. It whimpered softly, but it was stable enough to move. The shelter shook again, harder this time. Rylan sprinted toward the ladder with the cub held close. When he reached the surface, he saw the machines marching toward the hillside where the cave entrance was hidden. Drones hovered above, scanning the ground with red beams. Rylan's heart raced. They found the trail. He looked down at the cub in his arms. Its glowing eyes stared up at him, trusting him completely. Rylan whispered, "I'm not losing you." He stepped into the open, waving one arm. "Hey, over here." Several drones turned instantly, locking onto him. Red beams flashed across his chest. The machines redirected, marching toward him instead of the cave. Rylan backed away, holding the cub tightly. "Come on, follow me. Leave them alone." One drone fired a warning shot that hit the ground near his feet. Dirt exploded upward. Rylan shielded the cub and ran toward a ridge, forcing the machines to chase him. He could feel the heat from the drone beams cutting through the air behind him. He reached the top of the ridge and froze. Two war beasts stood there. The injured parent leaned weakly against a rock, barely able to stand. The second war beast stood beside it, growling deeply at the machines approaching below. Rylan held up the cub. "I saved it. It's alive." The beast's eyes widened. A deep, emotional sound came from the injured parent, a call full of relief and desperate love. Rylan stepped forward and gently placed the cub onto the ground in front of them. The cub let out a soft cry and crawled toward its parent. The injured war beast lowered its head and touched the cub gently with its nose, trembling with emotion. The second war beast pressed close, protecting them both. For a moment the battlefield felt still, peaceful. But then the machines climbed the ridge. Rylan turned, breathing hard. There were too many. They would kill the beasts. They would kill him. He had no weapons left, no energy, no plan. He stood tall anyway. "If you want them," he whispered to the machines, "you'll have to go through me again." But something changed. The cub's glow brightened suddenly. It wasn't weak anymore. It stood tall, small, but brave. Its glowing patterns pulsed rhythmically, faster and brighter. The war beasts looked at their cub in shock. The cub roared. It was a small roar, but full of light. A shockwave of blue energy burst from its body, slamming into the machines. The drones fell instantly, their circuits fried. The walkers staggered, sparks flying from their armor. The cub's glow spread over the war beasts, healing scars, reviving strength. Rylan stumbled back in awe.